And Michael Keaton is so good in this movie, it doesn't really matter that he spoiled the movie on David Letterman the day before it opened.
I witnessed Batman. Bruce Wayne witnesses the murder of his parents when he's a kid.
And the Joker had done that?
Yeah, but he doesn't know it till later.
I see.
I'm kind of blowing the plot here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like nobody's gonna go see it now.
And now, it's time for Fat Dude Digs Flicks with your host, Andy the Fat Dude.
Hey everybody, this is Andy, the resident fat dude of Fat Dude Digs Flicks, here with another video. Now, as you know, creating a video on YouTube as you're getting started really is kind of a system of trial and error. So as you see, today I am trying a new position and I've got a new setup. Everything looks really cool to me. I did a podcast over the last week that was not my own, so that means it was not recorded with me sitting in my car with my cell phone sitting on my chest while I'm talking about whatever. And as I did that, I realized that my voice using the computer microphone sounded very tinny. So now, check this out. It's a real microphone with a pop screen. So that's cool. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I am here to talk about one movie that I love with my full heart, and on its 30th anniversary. That's what today is. The day that I am recording this is the 30th anniversary of the release of Tim Burton's Batman.
I have given a name to my pain.
What are you? I'm Batman. Get those wonderful toys.
My life is really complex.
Now, Tim Burton's Batman is very special to me because I have a lot of really great childhood memories associated with this movie. This was coming off of the 1966 TV show that they played on rotation and reruns on, like, I lived in Omaha, Nebraska at the time, so we had Fox 42 where they would constantly just play all of these reruns of older shows. So I got to watch Batman over and over and over again. And then there was the Super Friends cartoon that I watched over and over and over again.
Grab your fist and press in and upward. You might have to press and push up more than once.
So I was a fan of Batman on TV pretty much my entire life, and the comic books that I picked up, they were Batman ones. That was the comic book that I wanted, and I really loved this character. So when the 1989 film came out in theaters, I was ready. I was pumped. I was psyched. I got sucked in to Batman fever. I had the trading cards. I had the action figures. I had posters. I had pretty much anything Batman related that I could get my hands on. And I was like, quite frankly, I was happier than a pig in shit with all this Batman stuff. Like, it was just awesome having so much Batman merchandise. And then, on top of that, I got to go to the movie theaters to see a version of Batman. And the good news, it was awesome. This movie was so good. It was so much fun, and it pretty much became my obsession for 1989 and probably 1990, maybe 1991. Look, we'll just go on and say that I was obsessed with Batman for a very, 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 very long time. Until George Clooney became Batman, and then I decided,
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
that was enough. But my first viewing experience with the 1989 Batman film was at a drive-in movie theater. I was able to go to a drive-in with my older brother and watch this movie, like, in what was a really cool experience for me. I don't remember if I'd ever been to a drive-in theater before that, but for Batman, it was just a lot of fun to kind of be there, like in the open air with all of these people experiencing this movie for the first time, and it was awesome. There was a double feature. I believe I fell asleep to whatever the movie was after that, but for Batman, I was engrossed. So engrossed that I think I went to the theater the next day and saw it again. Like, this movie was my life. And I still, 30 years later, still have a very deep appreciation for this movie. There have been other wonderful Batman movies. I would probably say other better Batman movies, but for me, this one, 1989's Tim Burton Batman, is still my favorite and holds a very dear place in my heart. And I decided I was going to make this video to kind of pay homage to this movie on its 30th anniversary, but also just to kind of re-explain why it is that this movie is so good and why its reputation has lasted so long. So let's talk about Batman.
Don't kill me, man! Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man!
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
So if you're going to talk about the 1989 Batman film, the first thing that really makes it stand out from everything else is its awesome cast. This is a great cast. And sure, over the years, we've come to see superhero movies where real high-quality actors have kind of embraced these parts. But prior to the release of the 1989 Batman film, this wasn't really a genre. Well, first off, it wasn't really a genre that existed. There weren't a lot of superhero movies to be had. But on top of that, this wasn't a genre that really kind of lent itself to really high-profile actors. So with this movie, with one actor accepting a huge part, it kind of changed the landscape for how superhero films are made. And that is the casting of Jack Nicholson, Academy Award-winning actor Jack Nicholson in the role of the Joker in this film.
Never rub another man's rhubarb.
If you go back and watch this performance, this is just a great performance. I think it's great because it looks like he is having so much fun in every single shot. I also think it looks like he's having so much fun because Jack Nicholson is a very smart man. Jack Nicholson did not take his paycheck up front. No. Jack Nicholson took his paycheck on the back end, which means he got a cut of the profits that this film made. And at that point, and for quite some time, 1989's Batman became the highest grossing film of all time. So Jack Nicholson made a little bit of bank off of it, which I think might be why Robert Downey Jr. made the smart move with Avengers Endgame by taking his percentage of pay off of the profit of that film. And since that movie has made over $2 billion, I think RDJ is going to be sitting pretty comfortable for a while. But Jack Nicholson plays the clown prince of crime, and he is just menacing. He has that sense of glee, but he also is menacing.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
And that grin, that frozen grin on his face is creepy as all hell. I remember having nightmares at the time about that smile, and especially when he wears the makeup over his white face. It was something that was so cool, and I like how they did it by like gluing a novelty mask to his face that pushed his cheeks up. Ooh, that's a lot of work. And I mean, he earned his paycheck, but Jack Nicholson's performance of Joker is just exquisite. Now, we talk about Joker first because that's kind of the one that, at the time especially, that was the big draw. But this movie would not exist if it weren't for the awesome performance of Michael Keaton as Batman and Bruce Wayne.
And then he had a...
Right shot! Now you want to get nuts! Come on! Let's get nuts.
This is just great. To this day, he is still my favorite Batman. He just does such an awesome job. And the thing about it is that makes it so cool is that Michael Keaton at that time was known for comedies. And when they cast him in this part as Batman, I believe I read that around 50,000 letters were sent to Warner Brothers asking it to be recast because he was not the right thing for this role. And when we sit and we go, man, Can you imagine if the internet were around then, how crazy people would be? Well, we're living in that time right now. Robert Pattinson was recently cast as Batman in an upcoming Batman film. And right away, right off the bat, there were petitions online left and right of people saying, how could you cast Twilight Boy as Batman? For those of us that have seen Robert Pattinson in films since the Twilight series, we know that this is a pretty decent decision, and I think he's going to do just fine. I think the thing about it is, judging from other actors' performances in the Batman films, from Michael Keaton to Heath Ledger, we know that these actors are really capable of bringing their all to these films, and whether or not we see them in this part beforehand, I feel like we're going to get a really pleasant surprise. So I think this is a good casting, and it all kind of stems from when Michael Keaton got this part. I feel like Michael Keaton really surprised everybody because he's able to pull off action. He's able to pull off brooding. Like, he just does such a great job with this, and he looks good in the mask. Like, I don't really know if people thought of Michael Keaton as a sex symbol before this film came out, but when you put him in that cape and cowl and you see his pursed lips, I think people are on board like, oh yeah, Michael Keaton looked good. So, there you go. If he is not Batman, I don't know if this series would have gotten off to such a successful start. I'm sure it still would have been popular and people still would have really liked it, but there's just something about his performance and the energy that he brought to this film that really makes it such an established classic for me. Now, as far as the supporting cast goes, you've got just a really great set of actors here. Kim Basinger plays Vicky Vale, and she is awesome.
See that thing on my belt? Grab it. Whatever you do, don't let go.
She set my 8-year-old heart on fire with her performance as Vicky Vale. I just loved her in this movie. It was kind of nice to see a kind of a romantic interest for our hero that wasn't afraid to get down and dirty, get in the thick of it herself. I don't really feel like Vicky Vale was a damsel in distress. She kind of, tried to do her part too, and I loved that. It kind of set the precedent for all of these films that we have now, where, and Princess Leia as well is one that just, those two characters, for me, really set the standard for these films that now have women in the heroic roles. So, way to go, Vicky Vale. Way to go, Kim Basinger. She's great. From there, you've got Robert Wuhl, you've got Jack Palance, you've got Pat Hingle, you've got Billy D. Williams, you've got Michael Gough. It's such a cool cast to kind of see a lot of these character actors take on parts in this comic book film, this big, huge comic book film. And to that point, like I said, this wasn't the case. And we're seeing now kind of the repercussions of doing that because all of these superheroes, these superhero films, are getting A-list casts. So, thank you, Batman. So this film really starts with its success by having an awesome cast. Another thing for me that really stands out about this movie that kind of makes it so great, and this may not be something that a lot of, regular moviegoers really notice or appreciate, but I love this movie's production design. Like, the sets of this film are absolutely gorgeous. And that comes down to Anton Furst, the production designer on this movie. He designed just a gorgeous looking Gotham City that is beautiful but scary, and I think that kind of falls into Tim Burton's aesthetic. Tim Burton definitely had his hands all over every element of this movie, and it doesn't feel as Burton-esque as, maybe Beetlejuice did, and all of the movies that have come out over the last decade where it's very much like, I'm Tim Burton, I'm gonna make a movie, pa! But it's so good, and it just looks so cool. It's amazing to kind of go through and just take a look at all of the different buildings, take a look at all of the shots. The cinematography on this film is really underrated as well. It just looks really great. So I think from a visual perspective, this movie does a lot of things really, really well. And I don't know if we give it as much credit as it deserves for being such a beautiful looking movie. I think we're kind of, we rely heavily on how good the cast is. We really like the story, but I don't know that people truly appreciate just how awesome everything looks and how haunting it is and how much that adds to the vibe of this movie. So for me, the production design of this film is just A1, top notch. I love it, and I think you should appreciate it too. Now, for so many of us, it wouldn't be Tim Burton's Batman without that score.
Bat Dance is unavailable due to copyright claims from Warner Brothers, so look it up yourself.
Nope, not that one. I'm talking about the score from Danny Elfman. This music is great. It created the Batman theme for me. We're all so used to the 1960s TV show. So it was cool to kind of have a score that was so dark and so brooding. And that's what Batman is. Batman is dark and brooding. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the 1966 Batman show.
Hold on, Robin. Tight. I'll ease you back up to the ledge.
You all right, Robin?
Holy molars. Am I ever glad I take good care of my teeth?
But dark and brooding, it was not. So it's cool to kind of have this haunting Batman film, and this music really helped sell that. That was the first score that I really wanted to go out and find. But I don't know if you remember how expensive CDs were when they first came out. I believe the soundtrack to Batman, the Prince soundtrack to Batman that I played a little clip of back there, you remember that, right?
Bat Dance is unavailable due to copyright claims from Warner Brothers, so look it up yourself.
That Prince soundtrack CD was not super expensive. It was like a normal priced CD. But to try and hunt down the score and find that on CD, I remember seeing it places for $30, and I was like, even then, as a little kid, I was like, hell no, I'm not buying that. But it was too expensive, but it was just an awesome score, and I wanted it. I wanted it so bad because this music is so good, and it really sets the tone for the film. So, of classic scores, we're always going to jump to John Williams first because he just has so many scores for his films that are really incredible. But I feel like this Danny Elfman score for Batman sets the tone so well and does such an awesome job that it's hard not to include this one on the list of some of the greatest scores of all time.
You killed my parents.
What? What are you talking about?
I think this story is just great. It was just awesome to have a dark superhero story. And nowadays, I feel like they're all dark, so we don't really appreciate it so much. And it just kind of feels like all they're trying to do is get darker and darker and darker than the last one. But with this Batman film, it really kind of set the stage for that. And I feel like it did it in such a really cool way. So yeah, I just love this overall story. I love the feel of it. We saw the origin of Batman in this film, and we saw the origin of Batman in Batman Begins. And I feel like every time we restart the franchise, we don't have to see that in every Batman movie from now on. Let's just go forward. Let's let him kick butt. Let's let him solve crime. Let's do that. Let's focus on that part instead of regurgitating the origin over and over and over again. But that's besides the point. The point is, the story is awesome, it's dark, and it's cool. So yeah, the overall dark feeling is one of the reasons why I love this movie so much.
Bout.
Hold on.
Now, I don't necessarily know that this last thing I'm going to touch upon is a reason why I like this movie so much as it is just kind of a general feeling that comes because of this movie. This was a superhero film for my generation. We had grown up watching the Superman series, with Christopher Reeve, which was awesome, but for most of the people in my age bracket, that was made before we were born. Batman was for us. Like, it was right there, right when we were kids, right when we were able to kind of really solidify our love for comic books, our love for movies. So for us, this was something that felt very, very special. And because it became such a huge piece of pop culture, that really crystallized for us. That became something that was such a big deal that I think honestly, for a lot of us, it shaped us so much that we're still stuck in that geeky phase, as you can see by all of this shit that I have. Oh, I shouldn't have moved my hand because now I got real white and ugly. Yeah, so moving my hand, that was a big mistake. But what I was trying to get at was that, we got so into this geek culture that we never really left it. And while some may say that's not great, I feel like it is, because it kind of made us feel like we belong. And I think those of us that handle it well and don't become these screaming, angry people on the internet who want to tell everybody they're wrong, I think for those of us that are well balanced, hey, good, we got something cool. For those of us that are ruined, y'all can go to hell. But mostly, just this 1989 Batman movie is it's something that I feel like, looking back on it, it's hard to really judge, like, if you are a part of that time. And I think because of that, because it's so ingrained in so many of us, it's really difficult when people look at it and criticize it. But we have to separate ourselves from that, I think that's just pop culture in general right now. We're living in an age where, they put girls in a Star Wars movie, I'm gonna yell about it. We live in that time, and that's fun, because we're not separating ourselves from these products because we feel so ingrained in it. We have to step out of this box, kind of separate our attachment to it and just appreciate what it is. So when people don't like 1989's Batman, I get it. They don't have to. But it's not going to change that I love it and I appreciate it. And for me, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love this movie. I think it's so much fun. I think it's so cool. And it kind of became not my life, but it became my thing for a whole year. I do remember when it came out on home video. I remember the Diet Coke commercial.
Hello. Gotham Corner Store? Yes, we seem to be down to our last Diet Coke.
I remember the Warner Brothers merchandise commercial.
Okay, popcorn? Check. Soft drink? Check. Warner Brothers ball cap? Aha! You can't watch a Warner Brothers movie without a Warner Brothers ball cap.
And I remember watching this movie every single day after school on VHS for a whole year. This was at a time when movies on VHS, when they came out, they were mostly just rental product. And if you wanted to purchase a movie on VHS, you usually had to pay like $80 for it. But I feel like the Batman one was priced to sell. They had it lowered to $30 for a VHS. Oh. But at that time, that was a big deal. And my parents were super cool. They bought us a copy of Batman, so we had a copy of Batman on VHS, and I played that thing day in and day out, every day after school for a year, to a point that I had the movie memorized. And when I sit down and watch it, I still have sequences of that movie completely committed to memory. It's one that when I was sitting down thinking about making this video, I thought about my top 10 list of my favorite movies of all time. And I kind of cringed because I didn't put this one on there. And, that's tough because I love this movie. And there's a part of me that when I do my top 10 favorite movies of all time, you want to have it be a reflection of your overall taste, you know, as the movies that you really enjoy, but at the same time, you just want it to be personal. Your favorite movies are your choice. They are from your heart. You're not trying to impress people with your favorite movies. And I think anybody that lists their favorite movies where they're just trying to impress people, like, oh, I like this. If you really genuinely love Persona by Ingmar Bergman so much that it is your number one favorite movie of all time, good on you. And I love it. I think it's a great movie. But it's not going to crack my top 10 favorite movies of all time because I don't feel like I can put on Persona at a party and smile and laugh. No, I'm going to put Persona on at a party and sit with a box of Kleenex in the corner rethinking my entire existence. That's not a party. That's being an adult. I have this movie on Blu-ray. I love it. It's in one of those cool books that I love so much with awesome pictures. See, there's the comic book. I used to have this comic book. And I loved it. Yeah, it's wonderful. It came right in between the release of, like, pretty much immediately in the middle between Return of the Jedi and Forrest Gump, which are two movies that really kind of defined me as a cinephile. But this one is right there too. This was just released on a really cool 4K HD disc, which I don't have 4K, so I don't have it. But I have had Batman on VHS. I've had Batman on DVD. I've had Batman on Special Edition DVD. I've had Batman on Blu-ray. And I've had Batman on this Blu-ray. I have owned 5 different copies of Batman on home media my entire life. That's going to do it for this video tribute to Tim Burton's Batman 1989. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, all of that typical YouTube stuff. I would really appreciate it. Share this video. Get other people to watch it. That would make me very happy. Please follow me on social media. I'm at Fat Dude Digs Flicks on Facebook and Instagram, Fat Dude Flicks on Twitter. I've got a podcast on Apple and Stitcher Radio. Just do a search for Fat Dude Digs Flicks. This week I will be recording an episode talking about the Toy Story series in honor of Toy Story 4. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your week.